All right, Homex Easy Gate. Starting to get into the afternoon on me. Supposedly this thing says 20 minutes. Good luck with that. What I have here is a prepped gate system. The way these fence posts are set up is I've set them up parallel. They both kind of lean a little bit, but that's not too terrible. Braced at the top right here, so I'm not going to have any leanage like I do on some gates, and that can happen when you're using the metal bottom fence posts, because this is a very wet area and we don't want those posts rotting. The metal will last 30-40 years longer than just plain wood alone. So I've got parallel fences. This says 20 minutes installation time. Good luck with that shit. But 2-3 hours between getting everything together, getting the wood up, getting the hinge brackets in, everything cut, set up. That's entirely normal. We'll get a bag of screws. I'll show you how that goes. We get the brackets. Some of these are going to have the built-on hinges, some won't. We'll just get into it and I'll show you how it goes. Part of what I'm doing is I'm reusing some old pressure-treated lumber because it wasn't very old, and it was painted with a polyurethane paint on one surface. We're not going to have that show, but I'm going to have it be on the part that when we put this gate together, it'll be under the boards, right? So these can be set up depending on which one you put high, which one you put low, how that gate's going to face and swing. So it's going to be pivoting off of this post and it's going to swing outward. My lock and latch mechanism is going to be right here. I need two parallel surfaces to work with, so I'm compounding this up with boards. Had a relief cut here for this little decking thing. I'm going to do some fun creative stuff with the banister and the rail here. And then underneath here, I'm going to block this off so the dog doesn't get out. So what we'll do is we're going to look and realize that some of these can attach and some not, because we've got dished out parts on some of this, and so we're going to force some screws into here. The screws that come with this have two different types of heads on them, so we'll pop that open and I'll show you. Alright, so they also give you a little drill bit for pre-drilling so that you don't, let's say, split the wood when you're doing that. Relatively wet, pressure treated. I'm not going to mess with that too much. But you'll see some of these are that type so that the head may or may not stick out the same way, and they're Torx head. I'm not a big fan of that, and I tend to switch over to a different screw when I encounter those. The other thing I'm not a fan of is the fact that these don't have threads all the way down the shaft, but they do that because that's what they prefer. So these, oh, they did give me a Torx head, nice. Okay, so maybe I'll use it. I just don't like these short ones not fitting in my screw gun, but we'll go for it this time. So these actually do all have the same head, and this is not tapered. Ooh, wait, let's redo that. Alright, so fast forward a little bit. You're going to use the included Torx head bit to work with these screws. On some of these, you'll put in this top screw. I don't necessarily like it because it makes this top end no longer flat. And the older versions of this, it used to use kind of a tapered screw and kind of a recut thing on here. And so this is part of why the price went down at Home Depot. So if you leave little gappages in here, hey, it's a wooden fence, a wooden gate. That's going to be part of the equation. On the hinge side, realize that's all welded in as part of that. And so with that all being welded in, what we're looking at is you may or may not put the screw in here. I really want this to be flat and level, so I'm going to skip that screw. I've got the screws in here, and then I've got the screws in here. And so I put this together just like this section with two equal pieces right away. One of the things that you can run into with this is that when you are closing a gap, like right here, the posts may not be 100% level and parallel. So what we're going to do on this, these two boards were cut at exactly the same length. The upper and lower boards, because there may be a little taper involved, I'm going to hand fit those. So I'm going to hand fit, measure the top one, put that in, check my parallel against my door frame, and then do the bottom one. The other thing to understand is that I framed this over at the top so that it comes off of the post here and doesn't come off. So putting the first section on, what we're going to do is I'm reusing some old lumber. The painted side is going to be toward the other boards. These have to be set on a corner because they stick out a little bit. And so this set here was basically assembled first, just like this other end is, and then put up. So whether you put this upside down or right side up or left side, right side, it can swing inward, outward, any way you want, depending on how you put the same stuff together. So on this one, you're going to get a lot of screws that come with this. You don't get the screws that put this into the wood because this could be put into different types of stuff. I'm putting this into a 4x4. It's braced at the top, so there's no wiggle on this. And normally when you do a fence post with a metal bottom, there's some wiggle, but I've braced this at the top. What happens is the two posts for the two ends of these things, I framed this very similar to a doorway because it's braced at the top, but you want a flat surface over here. I had to build out from this 4x4, but we're doing that so that when a door closes, it's going to have a function a lot like a regular door. If that thing isn't necessarily level or square, you're going to make the uppers and the lowers on these slightly different lengths. So that's part of your little trick. The other thing is we may be doing some left-right adjustment on this in order to make the other end come in even with this other post. So normally on something like this, we would check the upper board, and then we check its distance over here. I'll just remeasure the lower one using a little bit of reclaimed lumber on this. We check our distance here and we find, okay, if that's either enough clearance to allow for swing or not. And on this, it looks fairly good, so we're going to keep this one. And there we are, the gate frame is done. If you reach any points where you're using old lumber and the screws aren't grabbing right, just use longer screws, and that's what the substitute screws are in there. Here we can see we've got good parallel on the door frame. Again, you want a lot of clearance, you want room for a little swelling or movement, and it's going to hold itself square. On the box they say it's 20 minutes to complete one of these gate frames. Yeah, after everything's been laid out for you. So don't expect 20 minutes from unpacking the truck to swinging the gate open, because there can be a lot of adjustments that need to be made along the way. But typically, once everything's set up, yeah, it's 20 minutes to get it cut out and put together. But that'll be a good rigid gate frame. You can replace the wood piece by piece if it ever rots. It's got a little discoloration on it, but it's going to get painted, so we're good to go anyway. And I would also suggest, if you run into any issues down with these things stripping out, I'm going to just put longer screws in there. Makes it all the more secure.